Hi everyone, this is Tuplex. Welcome back. I think this is going to be the second to last episode. We're pretty close to making the goal, and right now really all that's left is just doing a lot of small tweaks and letting the base run. So there's really not a lot significant that I intend to do to the base at this point besides just do some little optimizations, excuse me. So we'll talk a little bit in this episode about some things I've done off camera. And then I think the next one will be the final episode where I will kind of do a base tour and just explain the whole base, where it started from and what the design is now. For anybody who hasn't been following along and just kind of wants to see the finished product. And then after that, I am going to be starting a new series, which is going to be with Angel's mods and Bob's mods and a lot of other mods. And I'm really looking forward to that. It should be interesting. So, first of all, you may notice I've got this great big logo here. Someone on Discord who goes by the name BTG sent me a blueprint for this. He made this version of my logo in a much larger size. I like it a lot because you can see it quite clearly from map view. So thanks a lot for that, my friend. Appreciate it. I'm probably going to keep this and plop it down in all my bases. Okay. All right. The gates are saving my butt once again. I'm so glad I did that. All right. So as you can see, we are up to 817 rockets launched. And it's yellow now because I set it so that if we're more than 50% of the goal, we go to yellow. And then when we exceed the goal, we will switch over to green. So we're getting very close. Rockets have been launching pretty regularly. If we go to our production tab, we can see that science pack consumption is 1,000 a minute, which is what our goal was. And you'll see it sustains that just fine for a long time. This is a 1 hour time scale. Every once in a while, I'm getting a traffic jam or something like that, and then it just crashes. And that, of course, kills the average. So you can see that the 1 hour average is 8:45 because of this section of dead time. But as we get further along, every time this happens, I'm making little adjustments, little tweaks to improve the performance, and hopefully those all those little hiccups will decrease in frequency. I don't know if they're ever going to go away completely, but you can see that obviously the base is capable of sustaining 1,000 science per minute for quite a long time. All right, so let's see. So the new logo I talked about. Another thing I wanted to show you guys, there's another mod that I installed called, what is it called? It's called train deconstruction or automatic deconstruction, something like that. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. Well, there's this research called automated train deployment. And, I know how I can find it. One second. I think there's an option in the interface. There we go. Show mod owners on tooltips. All right. Yeah, automatic train deconstruction is what it's called. In any case, you do that research, and that gives you access to a special kind of train stop, which is called a train deletion stop. And what you do is you put that train stop down. In this case, I've named it main delete. And then you connect it with a logic wire to a provider chest of some kind. In this case, I'm using an active provider. And any train that you send to this station, when it stops at the station, it'll automatically be removed and placed into the chest. So the nice thing about this is I had too many trains bringing coal to the plastic area. There were always several trains here. They were just causing a lot of extra traffic. So I wanted to get rid of them. And to get rid of one of the trains, it's easy. All you have to do is just add the stop. You can add the main delete stop, and then after it's done doing what it's doing, it'll go there and it'll get taken out. I'm not going to do that in this case, but I just wanted to show you how it works. So this is the same stop that previously I was just using to deploy new trains, and I'll continue to use it for that. But I had to put an entrance there so that those trains could come in to get removed. Speaking of trains, I was advised that my 4-to-2 rail junction was not optimally designed. It was missing some signals that might have been there in the original design, but I did remove some signals because I didn't think they were necessary. But the new design is performing much better, and I put that in my rail blueprint. Unfortunately, I didn't save the original one, which is too bad because I wanted to show the difference. But in any case, let me go ahead and plop this down, and then I can just show you. So there are. Oh, I need to get more rail. I'll just grab some from here. Those gates are awesome. Okay. Right, so one of the things that I was missing it was mainly entrance signals. So I think before I didn't have a signal here, because my thinking was that why do you need a signal before a split, right? The trains are coming this way. I don't care if they split or not. I didn't think that a signal was necessary. But what was happening is that because I didn't have this entire section here was all one block. And so if it was busy ahead, then the next train was having to wait way back here instead of coming all the way up to this point. And it was basically that's the essence of the improvement that was made by adding those signals. And let me just check my notes real quick so I can tell you who it was that helped me out with that. Black Hat. Yeah, Black Hat is the one who told me about that, and he actually created this blueprint for me, the new blueprint that I just showed you. So thank you very much, Black Hat. That was really helpful. So what I did is I went through, I haven't gotten to these yet because the traffic is pretty low, but every other 4-to-2 junction in the base, I updated with his blueprint, and it has definitely made an improvement in the traffic. I mean, you can see that we have very few traffic jams taking place now. Whereas before, especially here, it was very congested. Now, that being said, even after I made the change, I have had 1 or 2 situations where, just by bad luck, I would have, 4 trains all trying to get through this intersection at the same time. And I have seen once or twice where the trains just get stuck and they stay like that until I go over there and manually move some of them out of the way. So I would say that it's still not perfect yet, but it is running much, much smoother than it was before. So that was a very nice improvement. Now the other thing I wanted to talk about is copper. I found that we were not getting enough copper from the mines. On the Factorio calculator, that tells me that I need 49,000 copper per minute coming out of the mine. So I'm talking about copper ore, not copper plates. So if I look at my production graph now, I'm at 49,000, right? Short term, it goes higher than that. In fact, at one point, so you can see right now it's at 53. I think over time it's going to settle down to 49,000 just because that's all we're consuming, right? And it'll get itself backed up. But you can see before that it was peaking close to 60,000 a minute. But previously I was having problems with green circuits, and copper smelting had a lot of trains waiting to get plates. And it was just because I wasn't mining enough copper. So I ran around and I found another copper mine way up here. This one's got 31 million. There's also a lot of iron next to it, which is quite convenient. So I just ran some rail up there and set up a new copper mine. So I'm using bots. And I decided to use bots here because since there are two ores mixed together, the advantage of using bots is that I can have mining drills putting copper and iron into the same chest, and then the bots will be able to sort it out. Now, it does appear that I need to put a lot more roboports up here because a lot of the bots are charging. But it's running pretty well, and you know, it's good enough to keep the trains going. Right now I just have 5 trains going there. Okay, so let's go over to the copper smelting area because I did make a few modifications there that I want to show you. And I think it'll be easier to show you if I'm physically present. Before I get to that, let me show you Copper Mine 2, where I also made some major changes. And as you can see here, I upgraded all of it to use 2 belts, which is something that I talked about doing previously. And the reason was that the trains were just slow getting loaded up here. And I only had 10 or 11 belts coming in to this 16 by 16 balancer. And so I thought it would be a whole lot better if I could get at least 16 belts coming in here that were all full. That way the stations would load faster and I would be able to unload or load the trains faster by building up some extra ore. And as you can see here, I have a lot of ore already in storage at both of these stations. In fact, I might put some logic over here just to make sure that we're pulling from each of the stations somewhat evenly. But as you can see, there are no trains waiting to get ore. Yeah, so what I did is I just put two belts. Now when you do that, each of the belts is only going to be loaded on one side. The nice thing though is that they get loaded on opposite sides, so that when you add a splitter, it will rebalance them between the 2 belts, so you can eventually get to completely full belts. So every 6 mining drills, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, every 6 pairs of mining drills, I put a splitter to recombine those belts. Now up here, it's starting to get pretty full, but so this way, by the time it comes out, I've got 2 completely saturated belts of ore. Now, obviously, this decreases the number of mining drills that I can have on the ore patch, but it's not a big difference. Like here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's say I have 10 lanes. 9 of those have 2 belts, so that's only like 9 tiles that I'm missing, which is at best, you know, 2 more vertical rows of mining drills. But I don't mind that because the belts are the bottleneck in this case. It's not the number of mining drills. I mean, you can see that a lot of the mining drills are turned off right now because you know, because the belts are full. So I just wanted to get more throughput, and this allowed me to add a lot more belts, so I can completely choke this this balancer with ore. And in fact, I also had, eventually I had too many belts. You know, ideally you would just have 8 lanes of 2 belts each going into here. But I decided to cover the whole patch and then just use some additional splitters to combine some of these belts over here on this side. But this is working pretty well. Okay, so in the main copper smelting area, I made a lot of changes. And none of them are really major changes, but they are significant. So, first of all, I expanded the stacker. It's probably about double the size that I started with, because I have so many trains that a lot of them were In a couple cases, the stacker was getting completely full, and there were trains backing up here on the entrance, and that, of course, creates a traffic jam on the main line. So that's bad. You can see now that I have a lot of trains waiting to bring in ore, which is what I like to see. I like to have a little bit too much on the supply side so that we can run at full capacity. And then what I found is that when the entire stacker was going into one lane, the entire setup was getting slowed down because only one train at a time could go up to the station. Now, I did get a comment recently from somebody who said that he would signal this differently, and he would use more normal signals instead of chain signals. So if anybody knows of a way to improve the throughput of trains between the stacker and the actual stations without creating any backups, I would be happy to hear those suggestions, because I haven't been able to figure out a good way to do it. But what I did in this case is I decided to separate the inputs and the output trains. So the ore trains are on this half of the stacker, the plate trains are on the other half of the stacker, and then I gave each of them their own lane going north. So this lane here in the middle, this used to be the exit. So what I did is I just moved the exit over by a few tiles, and that allowed me to add another lane here in the middle. So you'll see that now all the trains with plates come up on this inner rail, and the trains with ore come up on the outer rail. And that has helped a bit. Not a lot. It's still pretty much one train at a time going south to north. With the signaling I have, occasionally there are opportunities where a second train can get started before the first one has gotten there, but it's still mostly just one train at a time, and that makes it slower. But you will see that all of the smelting units are busy. They're all running. All the lights are green. Because of the slowness of the trains getting up there, I was having a problem where the top one or two units sometimes were going a very long time before they got any trains, even though there were trains down here waiting to get up there. Because what would happen is, like, by the time one of the trains got out of the way so the next one could go, another train had already left the station that was closer to the stacker, and it would go there. So that the top couple of units were very rarely getting some traffic. So in order to fix that, I added some more logic controls onto these signals that regulate the traffic into the stations. So in each case, I connected all the chests. So here, like, all the chests with plates are connected with a red wire. And then I connected this pole, so we can see we have 11,000 plates there right now. And then those connect to the signal. And then I set the signal so that the signal is closed, or red, whenever I have fewer than 16,000 plates. And 16,000 is what it takes to fill one train. Okay, so now these plate stations are not going to allow any train in until they have enough to fill a train. Okay, so this one is now green because it's got more than 16,000. So the next train that comes for plates will come in here. On the ore side, I did something similar. So here we can see I've got a little bit more than 8,000 copper ore. And these are closed anytime we have more than one train full of copper ore, right? Because a train carries 8,000 copper ore. So if we have more than one train's worth in the input station, it won't allow any ore trains in. So by doing this helps to make sure that all of the stations are getting a roughly equal amount of traffic. And that way I can keep all the machines running. So this one up here, for example, this one has 46,000 plates, so it obviously hasn't been visited in a while. And it has no ore, so, and it just turned yellow, so we know that a train's on its way up here with more ore. We do need to get some plate trains up here, though. So that one's pretty much full. All right, so that helped a lot. Once I made all those changes, then the copper trains started to clear themselves out, and now we have this situation, which is what I always hope for, which is to have lots of ore waiting to go in and no trains waiting for plates. So when they need plates, they get right in there, they get what they need, and then they get out. And that's what we need to keep this base running smoothly. Okay, on red circuits, let's go over there because I made some similar changes on red circuits. I was having some similar issues at red circuits where basically some of the stations were not getting enough, were not getting supplied. You know, so for example, the station farthest to the north was always short on plastic, but then there would be a train sitting there waiting for red circuits, and it was never going to leave the station because it wasn't getting any plastic. Now in this case, it's a little trickier because we have 4 stations for each of these units. So I made some changes to the logic there, where we we have the, where is it? All the way up here. Okay. Yeah, so up here I'm calculating the average contents of each station, running it down this line, and I explained this in more detail in a previous video. And then at each one of these stations, I'm just adding the current contents plus the negative of the average, and then that tells me whether I have more or less than the average quantity in each station. And if it's got less than average, then it brings in a train. So again, it's just a way to balance this. And this circuit is basically the same thing that we do on the balanced loaders at the mining outposts. It's the same concept, you know, where you take the average contents of all the chests and you only enable the inserters whose chest has less than the average. It's exactly the same concept that we're doing here. Okay. Yeah. That's everything on my list that I wanted to discuss today. So let's take another look at science. Okay. So still running good. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I'd like to, you know, before I conclude the series, I'd like to get a solid hour of 1,000 per minute or more. Again, I don't expect everything to run indefinitely at 1,000 per minute without ever having a problem, but if it can run at an hour, then I think that that's a pretty good demonstration that the base is working properly. Alright, so if I take a look here, yeah, I have a lot of science packs. Space science is the one that is in lowest supply, and here comes another train. I think I set these trains to come... Yeah, I set these trains to leave as soon as they get 2,000 or more science packs, so... and I think we need more bots there. I see those input chests are starting to get filled up. So let's go over there and give some more bots to the science station. I'd like to check power, but I'm not fast enough to click the power poles as I'm driving by in the train. You may notice I also added radar in most of the junctions here, so that way we can see, again with the exception of these stations down here that I haven't gotten to yet, we can see everything along the main line. And even up here I placed radars all along here as well. for visibility from map view, but also because I wanted to get a lot of radar scanning the area to see if I can find more ore patches, because I would like to get at least another big copper mine. This is the biggest copper mine we found all game, and I was hoping to get more than that. But, I mean, you can see I've explored quite a huge area and haven't found anything. Also, another thing I should mention is that I have completely destroyed all of the biters. And you'll probably guess that I didn't do that using my weaponry. Unless you consider my mind a weapon. I typed in a console command that wipes all the biters and all the biter bases off of the map. It only works in the areas that have already been explored, though. So if I venture out to reveal new terrain, then those will have biters, and they will hopefully be in peaceful mode. But I decided to get rid of them because when I was coming out here to set up this outpost, even though I was in peaceful mode, I was still managing to annoy the biters from time to time. And the bases that I would have to clear are getting bigger and bigger the farther I go out. So I decided just to kill them all off. So hope nobody minds that I did that. And in my next series, no biters. I do want to go up to that new copper mine because I have this robot alert that is annoying me that I'd like to get cleared. So close. So close. Hoping that everything continues to run smoothly. I'm checking my main line pretty often now because I want to make sure that I don't let any traffic jams develop, because if I get a traffic jam, it's gonna kill my average there. I want to make sure everything is going smoothly. How are we doing on this iron mine? Ooh, I have a lot of trains waiting there, don't I? Let's see. Yep, steel needs iron. Iron is doing okay, but it looks like I've got a lot of steel trains waiting. Yeah, see this one? That one you should just go. I think I need to put... Well, no, I do have some circuit control here. Yeah, I think here I'm keeping the stations closed that don't have a full train's worth of steel. But still, I need to get more iron in there. So that's one of the tweaks that I'll have to make. Alright, so we needed a couple of drills and a chest up here. Alright, and let's put in more roboports. So that these bots have more places to recharge. That needs power. Oops. There we go. Alright, yeah, that looks like that should help a lot. Probably still not enough. I have 1,000 bots here. I decided to just kind of go nuts just because I have plenty of bots built and I don't have a lot of use for the rest of them. On power, we're using 6 gigawatts, but we're still doing okay. We now have 6 reactor arrays running, right? 6 times 10 reactors. So So I've got, these are the two newest ones over here. I need to get another radar over there someplace, but that's all working well. All right, so that alert is gone. Let's head back to the main base now. Yeah, and I'll work on getting more iron. These are just not loading very quickly. So I think what I'll do is I'll go over to this new mine and I'll set up drills on iron. And I do have 2 more stations here for more iron and copper. So I'll add an iron station over here and send some of those trains that are waiting at iron 1 and iron 2 over there instead. And hopefully that'll prevent us from having a big problem there. All right. Yeah, so I would say mission accomplished. We're looking at our 1 hour statistics, and we are at 1,000 a minute over a 1 hour time period. So the secondary goal, of course, is to launch as many or more rockets as I have subscribers. So subscriber count as of this morning is up to 1106. So I've got another 250 or so rockets to launch, which will take, if we're doing 1 a minute, that'll take about 4 hours of playtime. Obviously, I'm not going to do all that on camera because there might not be a lot to see, but we'll keep this running, and when I do the base tour video, I'll make sure that we've exceeded our goal so that we can confirm that our objectives have been met for the base, and then we'll start looking forward to the next series. So thanks a lot, everybody, for watching. I appreciate it. It's been great having you on this journey and getting all your encouragement, your good suggestions and comments. I've really enjoyed it, and looking forward to doing the base tour and getting started on a new one. I'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye.